that was me a year ago, everybody. Back when Marvel Phase 4 was first announced, and unfortunately, due to the coronavirus, there has been a wrench thrown into those plans. However, that doesn't mean they're never going to come out anyway, and right now is the perfect time to binge the entire MCU series. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Leo Rydell here from Geekly Goods, and I am here to rank all 23 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. But before we dive in, y'all know the drill. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ding that bell for for videos on the latest movies, TV shows, anime, gaming. Guys, so much content on the channel. Come on back for more, and let's talk about the MCU movies. So this is a long time coming. I should have ranked these movies ages ago, probably when the universe first started. However, better late than never. So let's start at number 23 with Thor: The Dark World. Whew. If they tried to actually merge the MCU with some weird oddities of the Lord of the Rings universe, this is the result of that. Jane Foster sucked as a character in this movie. I'm sorry, as a movie, this is the only MCU movie that I would say was actually pretty weak as a cinematic piece. Like, I just thought the pacing was off. It's a forgettable movie. The plot was kind of lackadaisical. Jane's involvement was very not needed. There's just so much wrong with this movie that, oh my goodness, it has to land at number 23 for me. Moving on to number 22, Iron Man 2. Oh my goodness, Whiplash sucked. The final battle wasn't even really a battle. There's so much about Iron Man 2 that is such an issue. It was not a good follow-up to that first movie. Let's move on to the next one. Coming in at number 21, The Incredible Hulk. Just like Iron Man 2, a pretty bad movie, but I will say that The Incredible Hulk at least had a pretty awesome final battle. So I gotta give it to The Incredible Hulk for actually concluding on a pretty cool note. However, I do think that I like Mark Ruffalo better as a Hulk than I did like Ed Norton. And I know some people will debate that, but I don't know. Ed Norton as Bruce Banner, just not that convincing to me. And maybe it's just me, and maybe it's just the scripts he rewrote tons of times on set. But that's a conversation for an entirely another day. Let's talk about the next one. Coming in at number 20 is Captain Marvel. And yes, I know some of you are asking, how is that coming in so low at your list? Unfortunately, Captain Marvel just wasn't that entertaining as I wanted it to be. I thought that Brie Larson couldn't really carry the movie alone. I thought her and Samuel L. Jackson on screen together were hilarious. I thought they had this buddy cop energy. I even loved Goose the cat. But I just think that Brie Larson alone didn't pull the movie enough for me to want to be emotionally attached to her. Think Captain America, think Thor in Thor Ragnarok. Like, those are characters who have pulled me into the movies. I mean, Iron Man, in Iron Man 3, even in Iron Man 2, he emotionally grips me so well. But I don't know, watching Brie Larson was kind of like watching paint dry. Let's move on to the next one. Coming in at number 19 is Thor. Yes, the first Thor. I gotta say, I really liked Loki in this movie. I thought Thor was kind of ice cold. I thought for a character that was in a universe where people were a little more goofy, a little more witty and funny, I thought Thor was just so, I don't want to say stoic because that's not the word I'm looking for, but I just thought he was a little stone cold, and I could see the little bits and pieces of humor that were trying to come out of Chris Hemsworth, but I could tell that they wanted to reel it back and really seal and tighten him up and not allow him to have that comedic energy that he had in Thor Ragnarok. So I could feel the forced acting. There's just a lot, again, there's a lot with this movie that just puts it towards the bottom for me. So let's move on to the next one. Next up on our list is our first Avengers entry. Yes, I said Avengers that low. I'm going Avengers Age of Ultron for number 18. And here's the reason why. Out of all the Avengers movies, he was the worst villain. Out of all the Avengers movies, this was the most forgetful. There are just a lot of pieces to the puzzle that were missing from this Avengers movie that were in every other Avengers movie. And honestly, it's just kind of a boring movie. I mean, besides discovering Vision and all of that, and the Cap, slightly scooting the hammer, hinting towards Endgame, that was like the only piece I got from this movie. Ultron was kind of clunky and annoying to me. I thought his voiceover was just, I don't know, not villainous enough. I was not terrified of him as a villain. I didn't feel the threat. I don't know. Age of Ultron, comes down low for me. I was not feeling it. Coming in at number 17 is Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 was actually a pretty decent movie. I went back and rewatched it for the first time in forever, and I had a very good time watching it. I mean, I liked all the suits at the end. I liked a lot of the, I liked Tony Stark in this movie. I liked when he saved Pepper and the suit and the armor goes on her. Love those scenes. But oh my God, the Mandarin debacle. That ruined the entire movie for me. You have this character that is exactly like his comic book counterpart, exactly like the Mandarin, exactly like the comic book. However, you expose him as a fake for somebody who's the total opposite. So I thought that was a whack move on their part. And Iron Man 3, honestly, could have been a much better movie if they didn't pull that crap. Let's be real here. You had the Mandarin, use the Mandarin. Next one. So next up at number 16, we're going with Ant-Man. So Paul Rudd, absolutely hilarious. Same with his team of T.I. and the rest of them. I mean, hell, Louise makes these movies. So I think that first Ant-Man actually hit the nail on the head when it came to the comedy. It didn't feel forced. It was fun. Cassie and Ant-Man have such a fun relationship. And then also, not only that, Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly are amazing on screen together. So this just made for a great first entry. Loved the villain, really enjoyed the story. Ant-Man was awesome. It was great. Coming in at number 15 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And the reason why I actually rank this a little bit above Ant-Man is because I believe I had that attachment to the Guardians from that first movie. So carrying it over into the next movie where so much stuff happens, like, I think we forget how much happened in this movie. Yondu's death, Star-Lord finds out who his father is and where he is and where he's been. I think there's just so much to this movie that it bumped it up a little bit over Ant-Man for me, and losing Yondu was like so emotional right after the great I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Like, that was so emotional to lose him. So I loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Kurt Russell's character, they did some weird flexing with ego, but I did really enjoy the movie for what it was. Coming up next at number 14 is Doctor Strange. Yes, the first kind of psychedelic MCU movie, if you will say. Maybe not even the first psychedelic, but man, the first with those really cool CGI effects. Those were amazing with the shot turning and things like that. Like, I think this movie was just graphically probably one of Marvel's best. Like, the way that they depicted the sorcerer magic, the way that they depicted like buildings shifting and transmutation circles forming, it was just absolutely beautifully done. And I gotta say, it looks real, it looks believable, it's crisp, it's amazing. But I gotta say, other than that and Benedict Cumberbatch's humor, kind of felt like another Iron Man movie. So let's move on. Coming in at number 13 is Captain America, the First Avenger. Yes, the first in the Cap lineup. It's pretty high. Now, it's not higher than its other two sequels, but it's an adventure from beginning to end. You get to, pretty much go on a full wide-scale adventure with Cap in World War I. So it is or is it two? Anyway, it is a fantastic movie. It's fun from beginning to end. Red Skull is a great villain that I thought didn't get the redemption that he actually deserved. So it's a little unfortunate that we didn't get more Red Skull. But I loved Red Skull. I thought it was a great match to Captain America in that first movie. And I just thought that movie was fun. It was great seeing Steve and Bucky reunite. It was cool seeing kind of Bucky get that, that little tinge of jealousy when he saw that Steve was strong now. Like, it was just really cool following Captain America's origin story, because I think he's got the most convoluted and the most complicated and the craziest story of all of them. So I really enjoyed Captain America's intro movie. Coming in at number 12, right above Cap, is Iron Man for me, the first Iron Man. This is what got us started in the MCU. Not only did we get our introduction to Iron Man, but we also got Nick Fury at the end of the movie, setting up the Avengers, setting up an entire universe of 23 films in 11 years. This was a fantastic movie. It's got great rewatch value, actually, more than its sequels. Very much worth rewatching. Iron Man 1, definitely at number 12. Coming in at number 11 is the original Avengers, and I think it's rebranded as Avengers Assemble. Don't quote me on that. But that first Avengers was a great movie beginning to end. Getting to see those characters built up into a team in their own respective movies, and then to come together, bring them together, actually have them fighting off a threat together is absolutely incredible. Like, it was amazing. Beginning to end, the the 4 Avengers, or I guess you could say 6 because of Hawkeye and Black Widow, the 6 Avengers we get really attached to in this movie were just outstanding. And honestly, I gotta say, it dropped it down to 11 for me throughout the years because you go back and watch it, and it kind of looks like a made-for-TV movie. The lighting is not as strong as the other Avengers movies. You can totally tell this was like the peak of that Phase 1 Marvel look, and they were going to completely change it when Phase 2 got into it. So let's go on to our next one. At number 10 is Spider-Man Homecoming, the intro into the Tom Holland Spider-Man in his solo film, because we saw him in Captain America Civil War, and then we finally got this first film. It was a knockout. I gotta say, Spider-Man Homecoming was definitely in my top 10 because it followed Peter Parker in a light that we haven't seen before. One where he's already lost Uncle Ben, where he's already discovered his powers. We're dropped into the middle of the story, and I thought that was brilliant to do for Tom Holland Spider-Man because we got the origin stories for both Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. So I thought that it was brilliant to drop him in right in the middle of high school. Tom Holland, to me, is the perfect encapsulation of both Peter and Spider-Man. I thought it was a great performance on Tom Holland's part. It was awesome seeing him connect with a black Mary Jane. I loved Homecoming beginning to end. And let's not forget our boy Michael Keaton as Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture. Looked amazing. He didn't look hokey like he does in the comic books with the bald head. He looked great. So that was a fantastic movie. I am really looking forward to Spider-Man 3 Serenity Now, but that's a discussion for another day, guys. Let's move on to our number 9. Coming in at number 9 is Thor Ragnarok, the best of the Thor trilogy by far. It's funny, it's witty, everything about Thor Ragnarok, I gotta say, it's just a bundle of fun. The pacing is great, the characters and acting is great, the humor is out of this world funny, and I think that it feels a lot more naturally, not only on Chris Hemsworth's side, but also on Tom Hiddleston's side. They just play off of each other a lot easier this time. They're funny together. They have great synergy together. I think that Taika Waititi coming on to the Thor franchise was the best that Marvel could have done for this character because Chris Hemsworth gets to play him a little more naturally than he had to play him in Dark World and the first Thor. I think this is the Thor that we needed, and this is a great fusion of Thor from the comics and an MCU version of Thor. Coming up at number 8 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. There are so many great things about this movie, but I gotta say the best quality about Ant-Man and the Wasp is the pacing. The movie does not stop, but it doesn't feel rushed. Ant-Man, again, same great energy, same great cast, same director, so this was just done very well. Coming in at number 7 is Spider-Man Far From Home. Man, let me tell you, Tom Holland was great in this movie, but the knockout was Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. Holy smokes, another Spider-Man villain that is literally, maybe even better than Spider-Man himself. That happened in the Tobey Maguire first 2, and here we are again with Tom Holland, where we have a villain who is absolutely incredible. He acted just like Mysterio. He was the perfect Quentin. The twist at the end and showing J. Jonah Jameson in the Tom Holland movie, mwah! Oh my God, a masterpiece. Coming in at number 6 is Captain America Civil War. Woo! This would probably be a lot heavier on my list if this was actually a Captain America movie, but come on, this is the Avengers movie that wasn't titled an Avengers movie. It definitely felt like the groups were the main priority here. It was definitely a clash of the clans between both Iron Man's team and Captain America's team, so this was definitely an Avengers versus an Avengers movie, but it was great. Who wouldn't want to see Spider-Man duking it out with Winter Soldier and with Falcon on his first return, or his first appearance in the MCU? So fantastic movie. It's action-packed beginning to end. The adrenaline is just at 1,000 levels the entire time. It's a great film. Again, I would have ranked it higher if it was more about Cap, and that's the only thing about the movie I don't like. This is an Avengers movie. But let's move on to our top 5, everybody. Starting with number 5. Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think that this movie actually changed the pace of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think they figured out that they could get away with pretty awesome levels of humor and people will enjoy it. And they can bring in more characters that nobody knows, and kind of redo them a lot or a little or what have you, and people will still very much enjoy them because this is a pretty different team than its comic book counterparts. However, the way that they brought this ragtag team together was absolutely brilliant. They're funny together. The cast is absolutely perfect together. They have great synergy. They felt like a family right off the bat. Guardians of the Galaxy was just a refreshing change to the MCU that really wasn't experimenting or toying too much with the humor it had inside of its characters that much at this point. So I thought that Guardians of the Galaxy kind of shifted the tone of Marvel a little bit to lighten things up even further. Coming in at number 4 is Avengers Endgame. And I know, you're like, what? Endgame is number 1. Unfortunately for me, Endgame was not number 1. It was one of the best Marvel movies. Don't get me wrong, it's in my top 5. It's a great Avengers movie, but there were just some things that kind of let me down. Like, I felt like the time traveling was too easy. I felt like Cap's big moment was amazing, but other than that, some of the other stuff just felt a little too easy. Like the time traveling, I feel like, okay, that's a pretty typical route to go. Oh, we can just all erase this by going back to the past. So I think just the journey and how they achieved what they did was kind of boring. And also, not to mention, the whole, like, Thor marching into Thanos' well, I actually kind of like that. I'm taking that back. Coming up at number 3 is Black Panther. And come on, an all-black cast, Black Panther, a great hero, Chadwick Boseman, and an amazing villain in Killmonger. I mean, maybe even a better character than the main character. So definitely going at number 3 for Black Panther. Number 2 is an Avengers Infinity War, the big lead up, the part 1 of the 2-part final showdown. Freaking amazing. I mean, we lose heroes at the end. A lot of people in the theater have no idea how they're gonna come back. So that was probably the best part, is that so many people were like, how are we gonna get our heroes back? And they finally did it. They did it in the most fantastic way. And coming in at number 1, of course, if you guys don't know me, you don't know about this, but my favorite MCU movie is definitely Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I mean, come on, it's an espionage film, fused with a Marvel film, with great fighting skills, great choreography on Cap's part. I mean, it's just a movie that set itself apart from the entire Marvel universe. There's so much adrenaline, so much great fight scenes, and a best friend versus a best friend has so many emotional stakes that it really, really brings that movie up to number 1. But guys, let me know your ranking for the MCU down in the comments. I'm actually running out of time because unfortunately my battery is dying and I can see it beeping in the corner. But guys, you let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on my ranking and what your ranking is. And I've got my ranking down below just in case you need to double check. But guys, let me know your thoughts down in the comments as usual, and we will see you next time on Geekly Goods, y'all.